The rain in this city didn't wash things clean, it just made the grime slicker and the silence louder. I stood in the entryway of a craftsman bungalow that had clearly seen better decades, water dripping from the hem of my $3,000 trench coat onto a hardwood floor that was already warped from a century of damp boots. I checked my watch. 7:05 p.m. My Italian tutor, a 20-year-old linguistics major named Justin, was 5 minutes late. In my world, the cutthroat ecosystem of high-stakes literary publishing 5 minutes was a breach of contract. It was enough time to lose a bidding war, fire an assistant, or realize you hated your life. But here, amidst the smell of wet wool, lemon oil, and old paper, 5 minutes just felt like a pause. I shifted my weight, my briefcase heavy in my hand. I should have left. I should have been at the drinks mixer at the Pierre, schmoozing with the editor who had just acquired the memoir of a sentient AI. Instead, I was standing in a stranger's house, trying to learn the conditional tense of to regret because my therapist suggested I needed a hobby that wasn't monetizable. "I'm so sorry," a voice rasped from the hallway. I turned, expecting Justin's apologetic face. Instead, I saw a woman who looked like she had just lost a wrestling match with a library and enjoyed it. She was wearing an oversized sweater, the color of burnt pumpkins, and jeans that had a smear of blue ink on the thigh. Her dark hair was pulled back in a knot that defied physics, strands escaping to frame a face that was striking not for its perfection, but for its exhaustion. High cheekbones, shadows under the eyes, and a mouth that looked like it was currently holding back a scream or a laugh. "Justin is stuck at the library," she said, wiping her hands on a tea towel. "The bridge is flooded." "He just texted." "Ah," I said, flashing the smile that had charmed 3 authors out of their previous contracts last month. "The perils of academia. I suppose I can practice my conjugations with the coat rack. It seems like a good listener." She didn't smile. She studied me, her eyes narrowing slightly as she took in the wet coat, the Italian leather briefcase, and the tension radiating off me in waves. "You're shivering," she observed. "I'm vibrating with enthusiasm for the Italian language," I corrected. "You're freezing," she countered. She stepped back, opening the door to the living room wider. "Come in. Sit by the fire. He'll be here in 20 minutes. I hesitated. My schedule was a fortress. Entering the personal space of my tutor's mother was a violation of the perimeter. But the cold was seeping through my socks, and the hallway smelled like cinnamon and something else, something nostalgic and sharp, like pencil shavings. "Just for 10 minutes, I said, stepping out of my wet shoes. "I charge by the quarter hour, so my time is technically very expensive." "I'll pay you in tea," she said, walking away. "It's chamomile, good for the nerves." "My nerves are fine," I lied to her back. "They're made of steel and caffeine." She didn't answer. She just disappeared into the kitchen, leaving me alone in the living room. If the entryway was warped, the living room was a structural marvel. It wasn't a room. It was a book sanctuary. Stacks of hardcovers lined the floorboards, like baseboards. The coffee table was a geology experiment of literary journals. The fireplace mantel held no photos, only towers of galley proofs. It was chaotic, messy, and overwhelmingly warm. I sat on the edge of a velvet sofa that had seen better days, careful not to knock over a stack of New Yorkers from 1998. Meredith Justin had said his mom's name was Meredith, returned a moment later with a tray. 2 mismatched mugs. A teapot that looked like a cabbage. "Here," she said, placing the tray on top of a stack of books about botany. She sat down, not in the armchair across from me, but on the sofa, close, not touching, but close enough that I could smell the soap she used, something plain and clean, like rain. Close enough that I could see the fine lines around her eyes and the tension in her jaw. "So," I said, taking the mug. My hands were shaking slightly. "Withdrawal? Exhaustion? Justin tells me you're a writer." It was a safe guess. The house screamed, "Writer." Meredith stiffened. She gripped her own mug with both hands. "I used to be." "Editing is noble," I said, taking a sip. The tea was hot, floral, and shockingly good. "It's like surgery, but with less blood and more passive-aggressive notes in the margins." She turned to look at me then. The humor didn't land. Her eyes were dark, serious, and filled with a specific kind of panic I recognized from my clients right before a deadline. "Mr. Hall," she said quietly, Justin says you're an agent. A real one. For Apex. My internal alarm bells rang. Here it comes, I thought. The pitch. My son wrote a fantasy trilogy. I have a cookbook about sourdough. I put on my sad clown mask, the professional deflection I use to crush dreams gently. I am, but I have a strict policy. I don't look at manuscripts after 6 p.m. It turns me into a werewolf. I don't want you to represent me, she said, cutting through my joke like a knife. She reached behind a cushion and pulled out a crumpled manila envelope. I want to know if I'm going to lose my house. The air in the room changed instantly. The cozy, rain-swept atmosphere evaporated, replaced by the metallic taste of a crisis. I set my tea down. I looked at the envelope, then at her. Who is threatening you, Meredith? She slid the envelope across the narrow space between us. Her finger, ink-stained, nail-bitten short, trembled as she pointed to the return address. Robinson and Associates. Legal Department. I let out a low whistle. Mitchell Robinson, the velociraptor of Midtown. You know him? I know he eats mid-list authors for breakfast, I said, my voice dropping the clown act. What did you do? I wrote a book, she whispered. Years ago. Under a pseudonym. Now I want to publish something real. Something mine. He sent this. I picked up the letter. I didn't scan it. I devoured it. This was my domain. This was the one place in the world where I wasn't a lonely, shivering mess. I was a shark in a tailored suit. The contrast was jarring. The chaotic, warm, maternal energy of the house crashed violently against the cold, sterile, legal threat in my hands. He's citing a non-compete, I muttered, reading the legalese. Clause 14b. Any work of fiction that diminishes the market value of the author's brand. What was the pseudonym writing? Sci-fi romance, she said, her cheeks flushing pink. Aliens, soulmates, that sort of thing. And the new book? A biography of an 18th century female botanist. I looked up. He's claiming a biography competes with alien smut? He says he owns my creative output, she said, her voice cracking. He says if I publish the biography, he'll sue me for breach of contract and take the advance. I need that advance, Lucas, for Justin's tuition. For the roof. She looked at me, her eyes wide and wet. Am I screwed? I looked at the contract again. I ran my thumb over the paper texture. Mitchell was bluffing. It was a good bluff, aggressive, scary, designed to terrify a single mother, with no legal team, but it was a bluff. Do you have the original contract? I asked. In the sugar jar, she said. I blinked. I'm sorry? I hide the important things in the sugar jar, she said, standing up. Because no one looks there. She walked to the kitchen. I watched her go. For the first time in 10 years, I didn't want to be anywhere else. I didn't want to be at the party. I didn't want to be in my empty, pristine apartment. I wanted to be here, amidst the chaos, fighting a dragon for the woman who hid her life in a sugar jar. The weeks that followed blurred into a strange, double exposure life. During the day, I was Lucas Hall, the killer of Fifth Avenue. I negotiated 7-figure deals while walking to get coffee. I told a famous politician his memoir was boring to his face. I wore my cynicism like a shield, deflecting intimacy with sharp wit and sharper suits. But on Tuesday and Thursday nights, I went to war in Meredith's kitchen. We abandoned the Italian lessons. Justin, bless his oblivious heart, sat in the dining room with noise-canceling headphones, writing his thesis, assuming his mother and I were discussing the nuances of the subjunctive mood. We weren't. We were building a fortress. Okay, I said. One Tuesday night, rain lashing against the kitchen window. I had my laptop open, 3 binders of case law spread out on the flour-dusted table. Mitchell is relying on the ambiguity of the term work. In the 2014 addendum, he defined work as titles listed in Schedule A. Your biography isn't in Schedule A. Meredith was standing by the stove, stirring a pot of soup. She looked tired. The shadows under her eyes were darker. He sent another email today, she said, not turning around. He wants to audit my hard drive. He thinks I've been ghostwriting for his competitors. I stopped typing. That was dangerous. If Mitchell got access to her drive, he'd see her client list. Ghostwriting was a delicate business. Anonymity was the product. He's fishing, I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. He's trying to scare you into signing a settlement? It's working, she whispered. She turned around, holding a wooden spoon. Lucas, maybe I should just sign. He's offering to let me publish the biography if I give him 50% of the royalties. 50% is better than a lawsuit. 50% is robbery, I snapped. I stood up, pacing the small kitchen. He does nothing. He didn't edit it. He didn't pitch it. He's a parasite. He's powerful, she argued. And what are you? You're one agent. You're risking your job being here. If Apex finds out you're helping a non-client fight a rival agency, let me worry about Apex, I said. I walked over to her. I entered her space. I couldn't fix the leak in her roof, but I could fix the leak in her legal defense. Meredith, I said, my voice low and steady, I need you to look at me. She looked up. Her eyes were green, flecked with gold, and terrified. I am very good at what I do, I told her. I am arrogant, I am expensive, and I'm usually insufferable. But I am right about this. He doesn't have a leg to stand on. Don't give him half your labor just because he's loud. She searched my face, looking for the joke. The sad clown reflex. She was waiting for me to make a quip about lawyers or sharks. I didn't. I just held her gaze. Okay, she breathed. Okay. No settlement. She reached out and adjusted my collar. It was a small thing. A micro movement. She smoothed the fabric of my shirt where it had bunched up. You have flour on your jacket, she said softly. Occupational hazard, I said. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. Fighting for justice is messy. She didn't move her hand away immediately. For 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, her palm rested on my chest. I could feel the heat of it through the layers of cotton and cynicism. Soup's ready, she said, stepping back. I'll set the table, I said. We ate in silence, the only sound the rain and the clinking of spoons. It felt like we were a married couple who had just survived a bomb blast. The escalation hit on a Friday morning. I was at my desk at Apex, staring at a slush pile manuscript, when my desk phone rang. Lucas Hall. Lucas, a voice purred. Mitchell Robinson here? My stomach dropped to the floor. I swiveled my chair around, facing the window so my assistant wouldn't see my face. Mitchell, I said, keeping my voice light. To what do I owe the honor? Did you finally decide to retire and leave some market share for the rest of us? Funny, Mitchell said. He didn't sound amused. I'm calling to give you a friendly piece of advice. Stop visiting the bungalow on Elm Street. The world tilted. He knew. I have no idea what you're talking about, I lied. I live in a high-rise. I'm allergic to bungalows. Don't play games, Lucas. My investigators tell me you're there twice a week, helping Meredith Anderson evade her contractual obligations. I'm learning Italian, I said. Meredith is the mother of my tutor. Right. And I'm the Pope. Mitchell laughed dryly. Here's the reality. You're interfering in a contract. That's tortious interference. If you don't cease and desist immediately, I won't just sue Meredith. I'll name you as a co-defendant, and I'll send a copy of the complaint to the partners at Apex. He let the threat hang there. It was a career killer. Apex had a strict non-compete. Moonlighting was grounds for immediate termination. Are you threatening me, Mitchell? I'm saving you, he said. She's a sinking ship, Lucas. Don't drown with her. You have a bright future. She's just a ghost. Click. I sat there, listening to the dial tone. My hand was gripping the receiver so hard my knuckles were white. I should stop. Logic dictated that I cut ties. I was a strategist. Strategists don't die on hills for people they met 3 weeks ago. I thought of the soup. I thought of the way Meredith smoothed my collar. I thought of the sugar jar. I put the phone down. I typed a text to Meredith. He knows. Don't panic. Coming over tonight. I deleted it. Too dramatic. Italian lesson moved to tonight? I have a craving for focaccia. Send. That night, the house was dark when I arrived. Justin opened the door. Mom's in her room, he said, looking scared. She won't come out. I walked up the stairs. The floorboards creaked under my weight. I knocked on her bedroom door. Go away, Justin, she called out. Her voice was thick with tears. It's not Justin, I said. It's the guy with the flower on his jacket. Silence. Then, the lock clicked. Meredith opened the door. She looked wrecked. Her eyes were red, her hair wild. She was holding a piece of paper. He sent this to my publisher, she whispered. I took the paper. It was a cease and desist order sent to the small press that was publishing her biography, but it contained something else. An attachment. A photo. It was a blurry photo of Meredith, 10 years ago, walking out of a hotel room, and walking out behind her was Senator Davis. He knows, she choked out. He knows I ghost wrote the senator's memoir. He's threatening to leak this photo and imply that it wasn't just writing. My blood boiled. This wasn't legal strategy. This was slime. The senator is running on a family values platform, Meredith said, sitting on the edge of her bed. If this comes out, even if it's a lie, his campaign is ruined. He'll sue me for breaking the NDA. I'll lose everything, Lucas. The house. Justin's tuition. Everything. She looked up at me. Defeated. I have to sign Mitchell's settlement. I have to give him the royalties. I have to make it stop. I looked at the photo. I looked at the woman sitting on the bed, the woman who made tea for strangers, who kept books on the floor, who was fighting so hard to keep her son's life afloat. I sat down next to her. The mattress dipped. You are not signing that, I said. Lucas, please, you don't understand. I can't fight the senator. You don't have to, I said. I turned to face her. I need you to tell me the truth. Did anything happen? In that hotel room? No, she cried. We were working on chapter 4. His wife was in the next room. But the photo doesn't show that. Okay, I said. Okay. I reached out and took her hands. They were ice cold. I rubbed them between mine, trying to generate friction, trying to bring her back to the room. Meredith, listen to me. This is the moment where the villain reveals he's not just greedy, he's evil. And do you know what happens to evil villains in my books? They win? She sniffed. No, I said softly. They overplay their hand. I squeezed her hands. He's blackmailing you. That's a felony. He's not just a shark anymore. He's a criminal. But we need proof. We need him to say it on record. We're going to trap him, I said. And I'm going to help you. She pulled her hands away, covering her face. Why? Why are you doing this? You could lose your job. I don't care about the job, I said. The confession hung in the air. I realized it was true. I didn't care about the slush pile or the influencers. I cared about this. Meredith, I said, my voice gentle. I'm lonely. I have a nice apartment and a nice car, and I go to nice parties, and I am profoundly, deeply lonely. Coming here, fighting this with you, it's the first time I've felt awake in years. She lowered her hands. She looked at me, really looked at me. You're not a clown, Lucas, she whispered. No, I said. I'm just a guy who wants to help you save your house. She leaned in. For a second, I thought she was going to kiss me. I stopped breathing. I wanted it. I wanted to close the gap, to taste the tea on her breath. But I resisted. It wasn't the time. She was vulnerable. She was scared. Kissing her now would be taking advantage. I leaned back, just an inch. We need a plan, I rasped. She nodded, accepting the boundary. A plan. The plan was dangerous. It involved Meredith wearing a wire well, a phone recording app to a meeting with Mitchell. But before we could execute it, everything fell apart. I came into work on Monday to find my keycard didn't work. Security met me at the elevator. Mr. Hall, the partners want to see you. Mitchell had followed through. He had sent the complaint to Apex. I sat in the boardroom, facing the 3 senior partners. They had the photos of me entering Meredith's house. They had the cease and desist letter. We can't have this, Lucas, the managing partner said, looking disappointed. Conflict of interest. You're advising a third party against a major agency. It's reckless. It's the right thing to do, I said, standing tall. Mitchell Robinson is a crook. That may be so, the partner said. But you're suspended pending an investigation. And frankly, Lucas, with this much evidence, you're done. Clear out your desk. I walked out of the building with a cardboard box. I stood on the sidewalk, rain soaking into my shirt. I had lost. I had lost the career I had spent 10 years building. I drove to Meredith's. I had to tell her. When I got there, she was waiting on the porch. She saw the box in my back seat. She saw my face. He fired you, she said. It wasn't a question. He got me suspended, I corrected, though it felt like a lie. There's a difference. No, she said, her voice shaking. No, Lucas. This is too much. I can't be the reason you lose your life. You're not. I am, she shouted. I am a chaotic, messy anchor, and I am dragging you down. You need to go. You need to go back to them. Apologize. Beg for your job back. Tell them you were manipulated by a desperate woman. Meredith, stop. I signed it, she said. The world stopped. What? I signed the settlement, she wept. I faxed it an hour ago. It's over. He wins. The senator is safe. The house is safe. You can go get your life back. She turned and went inside, slamming the door. The lock clicked. I stood on the porch, pounding on the door. Meredith, open the door. You can't just surrender? She didn't open it. I slumped against the railing. I had lost my job. I had lost the girl. I was just a wet man on a porch with a box of office supplies. I spent the night in my car in her driveway. I wasn't leaving. The sad clown was dead. The strategist was awake. I thought about the contract. I faxed it an hour ago. Fax machines. Who used fax machines? Lawyers. But contracts had a cooling-off period, and settlements signed under duress were voidable. But I needed proof of duress. I remembered the sugar jar. I remembered something she said weeks ago. I got out of the car. It was 7 a.m. The sun was rising, cold and gray. I walked up to the front door and knocked. Not a polite knock, a demand. After a long minute, the door opened. It wasn't Meredith. It was Justin. Lucas, he whispered. Mom said you left. I didn't leave, I said. Is she okay? Justin shook his head. She's in the kitchen. She hasn't stopped crying all night. She thinks she ruined your life. She didn't, I said. Can I come in? Justin stepped back. Please. Fix this. I walked down the hallway. The house felt colder than usual. Meredith was sitting at the table, head in her hands. She jumped when she saw me. Lucas, I told you to go. I don't take orders well, I said, putting my briefcase on the table. Especially from people who are being blackmailed. It's done, she sobbed. I signed it. Where's the thumb drive? I asked. What? The thumb drive. The one in the sugar jar. You said you had the manuscript on it. What else is on it? Just backups. Old emails? Invoices. Invoices? I asked, walking to the counter. I plunged my hand into the sugar jar. My fingers brushed crystalline grains and hit hard plastic. I pulled out the drive. If you ghost wrote for the senator, I said, looking at her with intensity. No, she sniffed. He said he couldn't pay me directly. It had to go through a consultant. Mitchell, my heart hammered. Show me. I plugged the drive into my laptop. I didn't care about the flower on the keyboard. I searched, and there it was. A folder labeled Project, Statesman, Financials. I opened a spreadsheet. It wasn't just an email. It was a detailed ledger. The 4th of April 2014. Cash withdrawal, campaign fund, $50,000. The 5th of April 2014. Payment to M. Anderson, $15,000. He kept the difference, I whispered. He took a $35,000 cut. I kept scrolling. There were scanned invoices from a shell company called R&A Consulting. And there, at the bottom, was a scanned note from Mitchell to the senator's aide. Please ensure the payment is in cash to avoid the reporting threshold. I will handle the disbursement to the writer. I looked up. A slow, shark-like smile spread across my face. This isn't just unethical, I said. This is campaign finance fraud, structuring, tax evasion. Meredith stood up. She looked at the screen. She looked at me. He stole from the campaign? He stole from everyone, I said, and he created a paper trail that links the senator to a felony. If we release this, Mitchell goes to prison. And the senator, well, the senator will be very motivated to distance himself from Mitchell, but I signed the settlement, she whispered. We faxed it, I said. But Mitchell hasn't countersigned it yet. Or, if he has, he hasn't filed it. We have leverage, Meredith. Real leverage. Not a bluff. What do? We go there, I said. And we make him eat that fax. We walked into Robinson and Associates like we owned the building. Meredith looked fierce. She wore her blazer, the one she saved for parent-teacher conferences. I wore my rumpled suit from yesterday, but I wore it like armor. We pushed past the receptionist. "Mr. Robinson is in a meeting," she squeaked. "He'll want to take this one," I said. We kicked open the door to Mitchell's office. He was there, holding the fax, pen in hand. He looked up, annoyed. "Lucas, I thought you were packing your bags." "I decided to pack yours instead," I said. "And Meredith?" Mitchell sneered. "Here to beg for the check?" "Don't sign that," I said. "Why?" "It's a valid agreement." "If you sign that," I said, holding up the thumb drive, "I send this file to the Federal Election Commission, and the IRS, and the senator's opponent." Mitchell froze. "What is that?" "Your ledger," Meredith said, her voice clear and strong. "The one where you detail the cash payments from the campaign fund? The structuring to avoid reporting limits? The $35,000 consulting fee you skimmed off the top?" Mitchell's face went the color of old porridge. He dropped the pen. "You wouldn't," he hissed. "You'd implicate the senator. We called a lawyer friend on the way over. I lied well, halfway lied. I had texted a buddy in white-collar defense to confirm the statutes. If Meredith turned state's witness, she gets immunity. She was just a writer getting paid. You were the one laundering campaign funds." I stepped forward. "The senator will throw you under the bus to save his seat," I said. "You know he will. He'll say you went rogue. You'll be the fall guy for everything." Mitchell stared at the thumb drive. He looked at the fax. He looked at Meredith, who was standing tall, unblinking. "What do you want?" he whispered. "Rip it up," Meredith said. Mitchell hesitated. "Rip it up." Slowly, with shaking hands, Mitchell picked up the fax. He tore it in half, then in quarters. "And the non-compete?" I asked. "Void," he croaked. "I'll draft a release." "Now," Meredith said, "and include a clause that transfers all rights to my backlist to me, with no future royalties due to you." Mitchell typed. He printed. He signed. He handed the paper to Meredith. She checked it. She nodded. "One more thing," I said. "You're going to resign from the Association of Authors Representatives. Effective today." "Lucas, you're killing me," he moaned. "No," I said. "I'm just taking out the trash." We walked out. In the lobby, Meredith stopped. She turned to the receptionist. "Can you mail this for me?" She handed her a heavy manila envelope we had prepared in the car. "What's that?" I asked as we got in the elevator. "Copies of the invoices," she said, a dangerous glint in her eye. "Addressed to the senator's chief of staff and the ethics board." "Meredith," I grinned. "I thought we were letting him go?" "We let him go," she said. "But I didn't say I wouldn't light a fire under him." The elevator doors closed. We walked out of the building. The sun was actually shining. It was blinding. We stood on the sidewalk, the adrenaline crashing out of us. "You got fired," she said, looking at me. "For me, best career move I ever made," I said. I hated that job. The coffee was terrible. "What will you do?" "Well," I said, "I hear there's a brilliant biographer who needs an agent. I'm expensive, I'm annoying, and I come with a lot of baggage. But I'm very loyal." She smiled. Tears spilled over, but she was smiling. "I think I can afford you," she said. She reached out and took my hand. Right there on the street. "Lucas," she said. "Thank you." "Don't thank me," I said, my voice thick. "You did it. I just drove the car." "You did more than drive," she said. She stepped closer. She stepped into my space. I wanted to kiss her. God, I wanted to kiss her. But I waited. I let her set the pace. I respected the fact that her life had just turned upside down. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed my cheek. It was soft, lingering, and burned like a brand. "Let's go home," she said. "I'll make tea." 6 weeks later. The launch party for The Life of Moss was held at the university bookstore. It was packed. The senator scandal had broken not because of the blackmail, but because the ethics board investigation Meredith triggered had uncovered the cash payments. Mitchell was indicted yesterday. The senator had resigned for health reasons, and Meredith's book was an instant bestseller. He stood in the back, leaning against a shelf of travel guides. I was wearing a new suit. I had started my own agency, Hall and Associates. My client list was small, just Meredith, for now. But quality over quantity. Justin walked up to me, holding a plate of cheese. "You know," he said, chewing thoughtfully, "my mom seems really happy." "She is?" I said. She never let anyone read her stuff before, Justin said. She trusts you. I trust her, I said. Meredith was at the podium. She looked beautiful. Not author photo beautiful, but real beautiful. Chaotic hair, bright eyes, ink stain on her finger. She finished her speech, and finally, she said, looking across the room. The room went quiet. Who taught me that the only voice that matters is my own? And who makes a terrible Italian student, but a wonderful partner? She smiled. A private smile, just for me. Come up here, Lucas. I walked up to the podium. I didn't hide. I stood next to her, shoulder to shoulder. She handed me a copy of the book. I opened it to the dedication page. To Lucas, who looked in the sugar jar. I looked at her. Keys, she whispered, pressing a metal object into my hand. What? To the bungalow, she said. I'm tired of unlocking the door for you. Just come in. I closed my hand over the key. A practical life upgrade. A symbol of trust. I'll be there, I said. Tuesday, Thursday, and maybe the weekends too. Definitely the weekends, she said. She took my hand in front of everyone. The camera flashed. I didn't look at the camera. I looked at her. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't acting. I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The end. Closing thoughts. Core lesson. I learned that real strength isn't about being invulnerable or having all the answers. It's about finding the person who sees your mess and chooses to stand in it with you. Self-worth isn't what you bill an hour, it's who you let hold your keys. Engagement. If you enjoyed seeing Lucas and Meredith fight for their story, please like and subscribe so we can share more romances like this.